The ball is on the 25, and it is 1st and 10. Welcome back to the show. Today is all thing Cleveland Browns. We review their past season as well as their offseason. Who did they gain? Who did they lose? And then, of course, their NFL draft. And we head into their season with a season preview. How will this season shake out? Metro, are you ready to go?
100% Cleveland Browns preview. Let's hop into it.
First, like I said, we'll review the season before. Where did they struggle? Where were they good? What did they excel at? Then we head into the offseason. What players did they lose? What players did they gain in free agency? And then, of course, the NFL draft. And then at the very end, we'll preview their defense, their offense, which will also be a very big discussion. And then as well, how will they perform in our guesses in the 2025 season? Metro, let's start at the season before and to review where we were back in January. This is where the Cleveland Browns stood. AFC North, of course, 3-14. Not a very good record. That's why you're picking second overall. They scored the 32nd, that is absolute last in the league, 258 points, and points allowed tied for 27th, 435. So there's no clear strength for this team, but if there's an edge, it's going to be on defense, correct? Now, they did re-sign Myles Garrett. We'll get into all the free agency acquisitions here later and retentions. But if you're to lead with the strength, it's going to be a little bit of the defense. Metro, what does this last season tell you? How do we have to pivot from here?
Yeah, it's a very bad team in a lot of ways. Statistically speaking, this team was horrific on mainly the offensive side of things. Defensively, they were not much better. Offensively, they ranked dead last in points per game, last in points per play, second to last in yards per play, 28th in yards per game, and dead last in touchdowns per game. They were not good at running the football, but they were slightly, I guess, a little bit better at passing the football, but not particularly great. They were last in yards per pass. They were close to last in quarterback sack percentage, 30th in interception thrown rate. So just a very bad team offensively. Defensively, I feel like they were okay. It just kind of came down to the fact that the offense was so bad that it consistently put this team in bad situations. But even then, I feel like the defense was a little bit disappointing. 27th in opponent's points per game, 18th in opponent's yards per game, 28th in opponent's points per play, 28th in opponent's touchdowns per game. They weren't good in the red zone. They were solid on fourth down, I'll give them that, but they weren't good against the run. They were slightly better against the pass, but they weren't great. They were also a team that really couldn't create turnovers either. So in totality, last year, obviously quarterback position was sort of the biggest issue. Not having consistent quarterback play from either Jameis or Deshaun, and Nick Chubb's injury kind of hurt the running game. But even things that they were good at the year prior when they made the playoffs, they weren't particularly good at this year. So it was kind of a whole cluster of everything going wrong at one time. And as we kind of look towards the future, I feel like they're a better team, but you're kind of picking straws here at what they're actually going to be good at moving forward. So disappointing 2024 season, and so far an okay offseason for me at least.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. They're turning the page, and something very interesting. I know we're not supposed to talk about the draft, but I think it glimpses in kind of the future of this team. They traded back from 2 overall. Instead of picking Travis Hunter, they took Mason Graham and acquired a future first-round pick, right? That tells me they know it's going to be a process to build this back up. Otherwise, they wouldn't do that. They at least have, at least I hope so, some kind of knowledge and self-reflection to be like, hey, we were not that good last year. We need more than maybe just one generational player. Not saying it's the right or wrong move. I can just understand the direction of this team, which I think many teams struggle with that alone, so it's good to see. Now, Metro, from here, do we want to dive straight into our offseason acquisitions and losses, or do you want to cover anything else from 2024?
Before we do that, I just want to expand on what you kind of said. This is a team that's in a rebuild. I don't want to say it's a complete rebuild because there's a lot of good pieces you're kind of working with still, but it's a team building for the future. And we'll get to the Shador thing here in a second, but I will say I don't think they planned on picking him up, frankly. And I think that is evident with them trading back and not just taking Travis Hunter, because if they were going to take Shador at some point, they would have just taken Travis as well. I think the fact that they decided to move from 2 to 5 and then take Mason Graham and then not end up drafting Shador to the 5th round kind of tells me they had no plans on, trying to contend this year. This was pretty clearly evident through the draft, which we'll talk about in more detail here in a second, but it was pretty evident from that they're not looking to contend this year. They are going all in on next year's quarterback class, and I feel like their hand was almost pushed when it came to just picking up Shedeur Sanders. I don't think they actually really wanted him, to be honest with you.
Couldn't have said it better, man. You just look at the camera. What do your eyes tell you? In that war room, right, when they make the pick, that's an owner pick, and that happens in franchises, so it is what it is. Shedor's a great player anyways, but like you said, their direction didn't say they wanted to pick him initially. Yeah,
we'll go deeper into conversation about that here in a second because I have a lot of thoughts about it. I say we transition to what they've done this offseason because it's been an eventful offseason. Can we start with the whole Myles Garrett saga? Because that was
so
interesting.
So Myles on the phone, and Myles like, man, I want to win. I want something new. Bring me to a culture that's about winning and going for a ring. I want a ring hunt. And it turns out everybody's got a price. 4 years, $40 million per year later, Myles Garrett gets the full extension, everything he wanted and more. So, Buddy got paid, and I mean, can you blame the guy? You put what's that math? $160 million in front of me. I'm probably gonna say yes.
Yeah,
that's hard to say no. It's like, you know what? I've had an amazing career. Going to be a Hall of Famer. Might as well just enjoy it a little bit more. So everybody has a price, but yes, big one. Extended Myles Garrett. Do you have anything to say there before I move forward on other moves this offseason?
Yeah, just the whole story was kind of funny to me. The whole thought process of like, I want out. And then I can kind of think of it right now in my head. The Browns probably sat him down in a room with 4 guys in suits, probably had carry arms on them. They were probably keeping him hostage there. They said, we're going to get this deal done, buddy. It's funny because, man, we were the entire offseason prior to him actually signing the deal, it was like, will Washington get him? Will Detroit get him? Will, whatever team get him? And then he just out of nowhere kind of re-signed. And but the thing that's the kind of going back to the quarterback conversation for a second here, he thought they had a plan at quarterback. And my assumption is that plan at quarterback was to go all in on a 2026 guy. I wonder if at any point they were talking about Shedeur at any point. Because I don't think they were. And I could just kind of imagine that Myles saw that and was like, what the hell? This is not part of the game plan, dog. We'll go in more detail about Shedeur. But, a lot of thoughts on that one. But you want to go over some of the other free agency moves? Because it's a good offseason.
It was very lengthy. And also, it does, like you just said, them trading back for another first does signal that they do want a future QB, right? And that'll be the correct time to turn it over. So next year, Arch Manning to the Browns? Maybe.
Well, if Arch comes out, if I'm Arch, I'm not.
I don't
Especially
think he comes
if the Browns have the number 1 pick, buddy, I'm staying at Texas for one more year.
Why would you leave? But not even Arch, but like next year's QB class, like you mentioned, Metro, I think it's fantastic. Yeah. I actually think it's really good. Like with Arch out of the picture, I think we'll go in 27. There's some really good QBs next year. But we're not here to talk about 2027 or 2026. We're here for the Cleveland Browns now and today and in 2025. Let's review their offseason. So, extended Myles Garrett 4 years, $40 million per year. Re-signed linebacker Devin Bush 1 year, $3.25, and then traded and acquired Kenny Pickett, the legendary quarterback, not corner, sorry. And then of course DTR, they traded for that QB as well, a stacked QB room. And then
they traded him away.
They did. They sent it right back away. Oh, traded away. I'm tracking.
Yeah, I think they traded DTR for actually Kenny Pickett, I believe.
I think
Don't
you're right.
quote me on that, but I think that is the case which is just comical as hell, by the way.
To be in this situation we're in today, it's like, okay.
Yeah, now that there's 5 quarterbacks on the roster, it's like, why would you trade DTR in the first place? For Kenny Pickett of all quarterbacks, terrible.
Yeah. And then signings, the biggest signing they had, of course, besides extending Myles Garrett, is going to be the defensive interior Malik Collins for 2 years, $20 million. And then they signed the tackle Cornelius Lucas for 2 years, up to $10 million as well. One more really important signing I want to mention here, the edge Joe Tyron Tanyonka. Got that right. 1 year, $4.75 million. Metro's face.
No, Joe Tryon Shoyinka.
Thank you.
You tried, though. It was close.
Yeah, I tried. I was a little bit closer. I was closer than I thought. But yes, those were their big signings. And then, of course, wide receiver DeAndre Carter, 1 year. Guard Tevin Jenkins for 1 year. And then linebacker Jerome Baker. Now, they released a couple people as well that I will mention real quick. Then we'll just go back and reviewing everything. The interior defensive lineman, Dalvin Tomlinson, big loss right there. Thornton, the safety, and then, of course, legendary long snapper, Charlie Hewlett. Those guys all got let go. So Dalvin definitely the biggest blow out of that group. But this is their offseason in summary. Metro, any big call-outs where you're like, man, this shook this team to its core? What changed? What are your favorite additions? What are your favorite, or not favorite, but like most impactful releases?
Yeah, free agency for them, I thought was, I mean, bringing back Myles Garrett was the big ticket, and that's
Huge.
kind of, frankly, the best move they made. I do like the Malik Collins signing. Like, he's an okay player, not a great one. And bringing in Tevin Jenkins, if he can just stay healthy, that's a big pickup, but if he can stay healthy. Other than that, I mean, Cornelius Lucas, a swing tackle, not sure what you're going to get from him. Shoyinka, he can play opposite of Myles a little bit, but I would frankly like to see an upgrade there. Other than that, man, just, I don't know. The DTR for Kenny Pickett trade, in hindsight, looks worse now because of the, of course, Shador Sanders move. But, yeah, I don't know. Just in general, not the most impressive offseason from the Browns, but in some ways it was probably never going to happen.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better. What would you rate this offseason? Just right here, no draft. What would you put it on like a grade scale if you were to give it one?
Man. Just the free agency period?
Just the free agency, yeah.
I would give it a C+, and that's simply because of Myles Garrett. Like, that's literally it. Malik Collins, good pickup, but like this was not an impactful offseason. And frankly, now I'm not too familiar with their cap situation, but I don't think they had a ton of money to work with because of the contract of Deshaun. So their hand was kind of forced to have a quiet offseason. And I guess the good news is they didn't go crazy spending money on people they didn't need, kind of like how the Saints have done things the past couple of years. Like, they didn't do that. So it's why it's not an F. But if you exclude the Myles Garrett deal, like, this is just a really meh offseason so far. But a good thing for them, they had a lot of draft picks. So whatever they couldn't do in free agency, they were able to kind of supplement that with some good draft picks. So it was okay.
And if you can supplement your roster with good draft picks, which is the hardest thing to do, you can do that in the league. You start winning. If they accomplish that, it'll be an absolute win.
Yes. Real quick, we'll talk about their draft. Round one, they traded away from the number 2 pick, traded away from Travis Hunter to get Mason Graham. What are your thoughts on that? And then we'll talk about the rest of their draft, because that was a big storyline that kind of unfolded out of nowhere. Like, it was the entire heading into the draft, it was like, okay, Cleveland's going to get a generational receiver cornerback in Travis Hunter. And then, like, 10 minutes before the draft, we start hearing rumors that, they're going to trade back with the Jaguars, and, it ended up happening. So my thoughts on it, I would have just taken Travis. But if it works out next year and you get a quarterback, I think it might be worth it. But that's just my thoughts.
Totally understand. From my perspective, when it happened live, my initial thought was, yes, it's Travis Hunter. This team did need a D tackle, and I love Mason Graham. If I didn't love him, I would feel sick to my stomach. But they got a first rounder and some change. They paid the price to move up. I was cool with it. I think that, you see this, I'm going to go to the Lions real quick. You see this where, like, awesome generational players get trapped on bad teams. I was personally for it, and I think Travis Hunter would have kind of been on an island like Myles Graham is. I'm getting all this mixed up. Like Myles Garrett is. He hasn't been able to win. He's like, I want to go compete. That seemed like a similar path for Travis Hunter to me, and they know they're not just one piece away. A generational piece, yes, but Mason Graham addresses an absolute need, who's also a great player, and you get another first rounder next year. I personally like the move. I thought you can't say won the trade because, like, this just happened, right? We'll know in 5 years, maybe even longer. But long story short, I like the move for the team. I think it's very good self-awareness.
Yeah, I think again, kind of going back to the conversation, this is a pretty clear offseason move in terms of, like, this team is not building for the now, they're building for the future, and Mason Graham's a part of it. So they're trying to build the trenches back up. They're probably going to do some offensive line work next offseason. You bring in Mason Graham, you pair that with Myles Garrett, Malik Collins. So they're clearly trying to build up the trenches. They're clearly trying to build up towards next year by getting additional draft capital. So I think this was a draft. Now, granted, as we get down the board, it becomes a little bit more like, what are we doing? Which we'll talk about here in a second. But for me, it was pretty clear this was an offseason where their main objective was to build towards the future and not necessarily try and contend now, hence why they pick up a Joe Flacco, hence why they pick up a Kenny Pickett, because I kind of feel like those were the, temporary quarterbacks for a year. But then we'll get to it in a second. All right.
Yeah.
Round 2, Carson Schwessinger. What'd you think about that one? I thought it was a little rich for my liking.
It's rich. I agree with you, but I'm a fan of the player, so get your guy. I'm cool with it.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's going to play next to Owusu Koromoa and Hicks. I felt for me, he's a good player. I didn't think it was their biggest need, though. Like, this should have been an offensive lineman to me.
Totally. I 100% agree on that part. Like, you don't start drafting linebackers and running backs, a.k.a. I'm a Lions fan, so this is what I have to relate to. We didn't do that till the roster felt really good, right?
Yeah.
Those were the final puzzle pieces. You doing that in a rebuild, kind of a question mark, but I really like the players, so I can't complain. I'm cool with it.
To be honest with you, as I'm kind of putting things into context, I don't know what I graded this in our draft grades video. Can I be honest with you? I think I'm going to lower whatever I said on there. I think I gave it like a C plus. I mean, this was a weird one where
It is a weird one.
the Mason Graham pick's cool, especially getting the additional first-round pick. But the Carson Schwessinger pick in a position where they didn't really desperately need a pick there, very questionable, especially for the talent at 33. I would have liked to see a guard or a tackle. The Quinshot Judkins pick is nice, and I like him. I think he was, my third or fourth ranked running back this draft. But it's also kind of going to what you're saying. It's not time to take a running back yet, right?
Yeah.
This should have been,
You're right.
Offensive lineman. This should have been receiver. This should have been, whatever. But running back, and I don't know. And then, again, round 3, a tight end when you already had David Njoku.
And Harold Fan is a weird one, man.
Yeah, he runs funny. Not even going to lie to you.
He's like fast but slow. He's the unique
Yes.
one. So I agree with you, dude. Like, looking hindsight is 2020. I don't even want to look past round 3 because it just starts getting weird. But
Yeah, because then they go quarterback, running back again,
You
and
double
then
dipped
quarterback
on both.
again. It was
Like,
like, whoa, what are we doing here? We have all these other needs. We're double dipping out running back when we just spent the 36th pick on one, and double dipping on quarterback when we already have 4 on the roster.
I totally agree with you, man. Like, when they were on the clock at 2, right, and they traded back and they got Mason Graham, they got a future first, I'm like, this team looked in the mirror and has a direction. Let's go. The Browns are so back. And then the rest of the draft, it's like, I thought you were rebuilding. What the
Yeah.
hell is this? This is not the pie we were baking in round 1. It doesn't track. If you want to win now, just take Travis Hunter. That doesn't make sense to me. So I'm with you, Metro. Like, initially I gave it like a B minus, but when we're looking at the full context of the team, I'm really not liking it.
Yeah, and we like the players. It's just when
Love
you
them,
put it into
yeah.
the context of like where this Browns team should be going and what we think they're doing, for them to take 2 quarterbacks and 2 running backs, and yes, those were huge positions of need. Let's not get that wrong. And don't get me wrong, I think Judkins and Sampson are going to be great players, and I actually really thought the value was good for Sampson in the 4th round. It's just, man, you had a ton of needs, and I mean, did they really address like any of them in like a major way? Like running back, they addressed. Quarterback, I mean, they addressed, but I don't think any of these guys will be the quarterback next year, which
No, they won't.
is weird. I mean, unless they really break out. And then Fannin, like, cool, but you already have Njoku. And yeah, you might want to run some 2 tight end sets, but, shoot, you could have done that with a free agency guy. So spending a premier top 75 pick on a tight end was just weird. And then linebacker, yes, it was a need, but not a drastic one. Compare that to the offensive line, which is older and just not very good in general. It's also quite injury prone. Receiving core, where, I mean, who do you know who their second receiver is? Jamari Thrash and Cedric Tillman. Fine players, but come on, man. Like, we got to build this here. And you don't have another edge rusher that's serious next to Myles Garrett. I mean, yeah, you bring in Shoyinka, but, like, I don't know about that one. Questions with the cornerback room because Martin Emerson had a down year last year. So, I don't know. It just felt like they were addressing the smaller needs that they could have waited on until next year for me. So, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of what they did in the draft, and I'm not a huge fan of what they did in free agency. So, not the greatest offseason, I feel like. But getting that first-round pick next year, that was nice. That was
It
good.
saved the offseason in my eyes.
Yeah, it kind of did.
Imagine if they just go Mason Graham at 2 and it's like, oh no.
Yep. Oh, my gosh. Could you imagine? Like, but Travis, he's right there.
We love Mason, but dude.
Anyways, do you want to let's do the quarterback conversation because we're here.
We're here. It's
Yep.
time. Let's talk about it
Shador-
one more time.
Yep, Shador goes 144. Dylan Gabriel goes 94. So now you look at the depth chart. Flacco should be the starter, at least we think as of right now. Pickett looks like the backup. And then Gabriel, Shador are there. And then, of course, you have Deshaun Watson, who he's going to be out the door any second now. So, look, Where do we begin here? I feel like I don't know any more to start. I think the big storyline is going to be who wins between Shador and Dillon. I think every single quarterback will get a chance to play next year because I don't think Flacco's that good. He's not going to carry them to a playoff spot or a lot of wins. So at some point they'll go to Kenny and they'll get similar results. So then at some point you're looking at a quarterback battle between Dillon and Shador. And both me and Cade think Shador is better, but I think we also would agree that Dillon Gabriel is a feisty quarterback who I think could look, I've been saying this for a while. I would not be surprised if Dillon Gabriel goes in there and wins this quarterback battle. Like, I think a lot of people are discounting him. He's a small quarterback, but, man, he's a smart guy. Can get the ball where he needs to go to. Good in the pocket, good awareness. And I just think sometimes when you get a quarterback room like this, I think the coach is going to look for the more cool, calm, collected guy who can work in the pocket and make the right throws, even though he might not have as high of an upside as Shador. So, and that's not to discount Shador either, because I think Shador could win as well, because I think he's a better prospect with a lot more talent. But I don't want to just completely say that Dillon Gabriel's off the chart here.
Yeah, I couldn't have said that better, dude. But, okay, when you take it back to the base of it, in your eyes, who's the best quarterback on this team? I'll give you my answer real quick. I do think it is Shador Sanders. Like, you just talk about play only, right? Like, no press conference, no media, no nothing. They're all spinning a football. I have Shador 1. Where are you at there?
Man, I think in terms of talent, Shador is clearly the number one guy. Obviously, you have to give Flacco the respect because he's been in the league for a while. He's done it at he did some good things with the Browns a few years ago.
For sure.
We have to see what Shador looks like in the NFL, but right now, I would say that Shador, to me, is the best player here and honestly the best choice they could go with because at least it gives you somewhat of a direction. And I think it gives you a chance to win. I don't know. This is... Again, I go back to it. I don't think that the game plan was to draft 2 quarterbacks, nor do I think it was ever in their consideration to take Shador. It almost felt like, man, you get to the 5th round, they were just like, we have to do it. And I remember saying this. I'm like, this is probably the worst spot for him. I know I've seen a lot of people say, like, it's a great spot for Shador. I kind of think it's the opposite. I think it's arguably one of the worst, just simply put, because they're probably going to draft a quarterback next year. And then what does Shador do? I mean, he's stuck in a contract there. You can trade him, but Shador's going to fight for a starting position. He's going to have to go up against a fellow rookie who I think can win the job. Like, Dillon Gabriel is a dang good quarterback. And then even if he does win the job, if he doesn't play lights out, they're going to take a quarterback next year either way, and he's going to get the start. So it's like, sure, Shador will get a chance to play, which is great for him, but, man, I don't know. This whole quarterback room, to me, just, I don't know, I feel bad for them. Like, every single one of them not named Joe Flacco.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better, man. It's Joe Flacco's job to lose in my eyes. The guy has done it the past couple seasons and played actually pretty well. Yeah. He kind of slumped last year a little bit, just a tad, but still, for how old he is, the dude's still performing. It's his job to lose, but who will be the first one to come up and play in that game when it's week 4, week 7? It could be Thanksgiving. Who knows? If he's playing at a good level, I guarantee you, or at least I feel this way, they will keep him in. If they want these draft picks to pan out, they cannot start them in the first 4 weeks. There's just no way. I think they have a very high chance of busting just because they won't be ready for it. Quarterback development is extremely important and not harped on enough, and that is needed in this horrible situation. Now, I also will say, for Shador's career, we have development, which I think is very important. But like you just said, they're probably taking a quarterback next year. So with that, and I'm rooting for him, the only realistic path I see is Shador gets in for like 2 to 3 games late in the season, and he tears it up. I mean, stat line of, 8 touchdowns, 2 picks, does a really good job, super mature, commands the team, good at the podium, and they trade him away because there's no way all these QBs stay, right? So just take one next year. They trade him away for like a 3rd-round pick or something, capitalize on their draft capital, and he goes to a team that needs a quarterback with a good situation and a good front office. That is Shador's path in my eyes. Now, how possible is that to happen? The Jimmy Garoppolo route is pretty difficult, but that's the only way I see it happening. And in Cleveland, man, like you said, I hate this landing spot. I want to root for Shador, man, and I will. But this is tough. It's Joe Flacco's job to lose, and then just a free-for-all. If you start Deshaun Watson, dear God, what are we doing? I mean, what are we – then just fire everybody.
I think he tore his Achilles, so I think we're safe.
Yes, he is hurt. But even if he rolled, did he get hurt like late December? I forget when he got hurt.
I think he got hurt like 2 months ago. So
Oh,
I'm not sure the exact severity of it. He might come back at some point this year, but there's no shot in this world that they start Deshaun Watson. There is zero chance of that happening. I would be shocked, frankly, if he makes the roster at this point. Like, I don't see them going into next year with 5 quarterbacks on the roster. Like, that would be, I mean, I don't know what his payout would be or how that would work, but if I'm the Browns, I think I just bite the bullet at this point.
let me tell you right now, his dead cap. Oh my,
It's a lot, ain't it?
his cap hit is going to be $35 million, and then next year it's $80 million of a cap hit.
Ooh.
And his dead cap, if you cut him this year, is $167 million.
Really?
So
If they cut him like today, it'll cost them $160 million.
I don't believe that. It says cap hits 35. I believe that's what you pay out. And usually
Okay.
this number's different. I don't know why it says 100. Let me find the correct number. This isn't right.
Yeah, but whatever the case is, they're going to have to pay him money, whatever way.
That's right.
But yeah, the whole quarterback room, and then I kind of feel bad for Dylan too, because
Me too, man.
I don't know, being the 3rd round pick, you would think that he would get the advantage over the 5th round pick, but the whole story is going to be how is Shedeur performing over Dylan, and if Dylan's performing well, he's going to get a lot of criticism. But yeah, I think we've been on this topic for a little bit. We don't like their draft. I mean, I don't like the draft. Do you like their draft? Because I think it's not very good.
I liked the first round. Then after that, it was, what are we doing?
Yeah, I like the first round too. And again, good players. I mean, Quinshon and Dylan Sampson, those are 2 good running backs. It's just, I don't know. This is not a team that I think can support running backs right now. I mean, the offensive line is not very good. It's very injury prone, which I guess we can go ahead and transition to their offense, right? You want to work on the offense real quick?
Yeah, would love to. So their offense, let's do a quick review. Their wide receivers, you pretty much have Jerry Jeudy. I'm going to be honest, that's pretty much it. You got Deontay Johnson in the building now from Baltimore, but that's all we got. So limited options. At tight end, we got David Njoku, pretty solid weapon. The O-line, we're looking pretty solid. We got Dwan Jones at left tackle, Joe Bettino. Sorry, I messed that up.
Betonio.
Thank you very much at left guard. We got Ethan at center. We got Wyatt Teller at right guard, and we got Jack Conklin at right tackle. So this O-line, we're not feeling great, but they're
if healthy,
yeah.
it's good.
That's right. That's right. If healthy, it's good. And then a running back. The running back room, we're feeling awesome, guys. Quinshon Judkins, Jerome Ford, Dylan Sampson, Pierre Strong. We got weapons to go. And then quarterback, like we just mentioned, we have 4 to 5 quarterbacks. We don't know who's going to start. So is quarterback room good, or is it just a mess? I think the answer is a mess. Overall, Metro, this team has a ways to go. I think this season, in my opinion, is going to be just hand the ball to Quinshon Judkins until he needs a week off, and then you hand it to Dylan Sampson until he needs 2 weeks off.
Yeah, this is going to be a team that offensively they're not going to be very good. It just kind of comes down to, can the offensive line stay healthy? Can they perform at a high enough level? What does DeJuan Jones look like if he starts? Does Cornelius Lucas get a start? And then Tevin Jenkins, kind of the same story. So I think that there's more depth here than there was last year. I just really worry about these injuries piling up because it's been kind of the case for a while now. Obviously, they lose their one of their tackles, and I can't remember his name. They drafted him a few years ago from Bama, but they lose him. He's, I think, still a free agent. So it's really relying on the health of the offensive line, and then, of course, quarterback play is going to be a big deal as well. Does Pickett come in there? Does he play well? What does Flacco look like? What do these quarterbacks look like? So I don't know. Whatever quarterback is up there, I think they're going to have a tall task in front of them because there's not a lot of great receiving weapons here. Deontay Johnson, we'll see what he can give you. Obviously, Jerry Jeudy's a stud, but yeah. And then in terms of the running backs too, it all kind of comes down to the health of the offensive line. Like if the running backs have a healthy O-line, I think they could be successful. But again, you're banking on this offensive line staying healthy and performing well enough. So, full transparency, I don't feel good about this offense. I think it's potentially better, but I don't feel really great about it. It just kind of depends on offensive line health, quarterback play, and can they get something outside of Jerry Jeudy? I mean, can David Njoku stay healthy? Mm-hmm. What does Harold Fannin look like? Just a lot of question marks they have to answer. And unfortunately, I don't feel like they did a good enough job of answering those questions in the offseason, right? Not drafting offensive linemen, not drafting a receiver. Like Travis Hunter would have been nice there. But, yeah. So, I don't know. For me, offensively, they're not going to be very good. They'll be improved from last year because I mean, when you're dead last in the NFL in 90% of categories, the only way is up at that point. So they'll be a better offense, but I don't know if they'll be a top 20 offense. Like, I think at best 24th, 25th,
Yeah, that
which
sounds
is
about
better than 32. So,
on the legs of Quinshon Judkins.
yeah, and that's if the offensive line is healthy, right? If the
that's
offensive
right.
line isn't even healthy, then I think Quinshon can struggle because I think he needs some good offensive linemen around him. But at least you have different options in the running back room, whereas last year it was, Nick Chubb on his last leg and Jerome Ford, who, credit to Jerome Ford, he made some plays, but man, it was not very good last year. So it'll be improved for sure. Again, the only way was up from last year. So we'll see what they look like. I don't think it's a much improved unit, but I think it's a little bit better. So, if they can stay healthy, there's some work that can be done.
That's right. Sounds good. This offensive group is like a, I don't know, C minus, probably C minus just because of the quarterback room. I don't know what the hell's going to happen there.
Yeah.
Maybe if it pans out better than we think, it's more of like a C plus. But the wide receiver weapons is a question. O-line needs to stay healthy, like you said, and then I think this is a good transition. Unless you have anything else here, if they win, it's going to be based off their defense, right?
Yeah, it's going to be based off their defense, primarily the front seven.
Yep.
Can they win up front? Myles Garrett's going to have a big year, which he had last year, and the defense wasn't that great, but I think there's a bit more help around him. You feel a little bit better about your interior defensive linemen with Collins and Graham, and we're both big Graham fans. I know there's a lot of people who don't like him. We like him a lot. I know a lot of people like him, but there's also a lot of criticism for him. Some warranted, some not so warranted. We don't know what you're getting in terms of a pass rusher opposite of Myles, but Isaiah McGuire's there, and then, of course, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, so we'll see what you can get from him. Feel good about your linebackers. Like, that's a really solid unit with Koromoa, with Hicks, and now Carson Schwessinger. And then in the secondary, obviously a lot of returning faces. You're banking on Emerson kind of taking that big step forward. It's a bit of an older unit now because Denzel Ward's been since 2018, Grant Delpit since 2020. Emerson's fairly young, and Greg Newsome are fairly young, but yeah, a little bit of an older unit that has some experience, but I don't know. It needs to take that step forward. Again, kind of like you said, if this team's going to be successful, if they're going to be a better team this upcoming season, it's going to be primarily because of the defense and a slightly improved offense. So what are your thoughts on this defense? Because I think it's a good unit. Not great, but good.
I think the entire year will be based on Myles Garrett, as usual, Mason Graham, and then any kind of pass rush pressure they can get. If they can force turnovers like anything, that is the way to wins. And that's how the Cleveland Browns can maybe, this is like, if they want to make the playoffs, man, you got to have a really high turnover plus, and that is where it could happen in the pass rush, causing turnovers and allowing your team and allowing your offense to stay in front. This is kind of the worst thing. If the Browns are ahead, they can run the ball and control the game and win. If the Browns are behind and one of these 4 to 5 quarterbacks has to start and try to sling it with these weapons, that's where things go wrong, right? So if they score first, the odds of winning, it sounds really obvious, but the odds of winning are way higher than usual. And then if they are behind, buckle up. We need some miracles from this defense.
Yeah, they're going to have to stay on schedule on both sides. Offensively, you got to go down. You got to score early as best you can. Defensively, you got to play with your front seven, and you're going to need some guys to step up here. I mean, Isaiah McGuire has, 3.5 sacks on his name through his 2 years in the NFL, but he was a, 4th-round pick, so you're kind of hoping for something there. You need Mason Graham to be a good player from, day one. Shoyinka, you're going to need more than 2 sacks. He was a former first-round pick, so you want more from him. You need your secondary to step up. You're hoping your linebacking core can step up. So defensively, they're going to need a lot of guys to step up. And then offensively, you're just hoping for health. Like, that's the biggest thing. Just stay healthy. Can this offensive line perform at a high level when healthy? And then what does the quarterback room look like? So they're going to have to stay on schedule. They're going to have to rely on some of their more star power, like Jerry Jeudy and Myles Garrett. You're also just going to need guys to step up. Frankly, it's not going to be a great team next year. We'll talk about our predictions here in a second, but I think it's pretty fair to say that just based off the personnel, both offensively and defensively, this will be a non-playoff team next year. I think that's pretty fair to say.
That is completely fair, Mr. Metro.
Yeah, so we'll get into more predictions here in a second, but man, depth chart-wise, it's just a lot of holes. I guess, what do you think is their biggest need, not named quarterback, heading into next year's draft? Because they'll have 2 first-round picks. One of them could be quarterback, but What would that other big need be? Because I have a couple.
Okay, a couple. I think I'm an O-line guy. I
Yep.
think if you got a really strong tackle, that would help a lot at left tackle. If you got a receiver, that would be huge as well. But you got to be able to block before you can throw the ball, in case the Bengals. And then, of course, defense. Some youth in that secondary would be very nice, but that's not glaring to me, not super bad. I think the left tackle and wide receiver is more obvious in my eyes. What do you think?
Yeah, mine is kind of similar to you. I think offensive line, just in totality, a lot of expiring contracts, a very old unit. DeJuan Jones was a good pickup given the value. I think he was I think he was a 6th-round pick? Oh, 4th-round pick. So, yeah, good value there in the 4th round to get a starting level guy. But he's just been a little bit injury prone at times, just a little inconsistent. He's such a big dude. It's hard for him to move. And then the other guy is Joel Bitonio. I mean, he's up there in age. He's 33. You, of course, Ethan Pochich, a little bit older. He's 29. Wyatt Teller, also a little bit older. He's 30. And then, of course, Jack Conklin. Won't be surprised if his years are numbered at this point because he just gets injured so consistently. So you have a lot of contracts that are going to be up soon. You have an older unit. And you have some pieces to work with for the future, like DeJuan Jones and Tevin Jenkins. We'll see if those guys stick around and start. But, yeah, I think they need to overhaul the offensive line. And then receiving core, man, it's just – I thought they were going to be more aggressive in fixing it, especially with Travis Hunter. They didn't really do anything. I mean, Jerry Jeudy's great. I mean, cool. But, man, Deontay Johnson was their big-time pickup in the receiving core.
Let's go!
And, I mean – If you were saying this 2022 version of Deontay Johnson, then cool, because 2022 had 800 yards and the year prior 1,100. But man, he has not been the same guy since leaving Pittsburgh. Carolina was terrible, Baltimore was terrible, and Houston. I also believe there was a lot of character concerns too. I don't know. Maybe you expect him to bounce back after a really bad year, being opposite of Jerry Jeudy, but I'm not expecting that. And just outside of those guys, cool, Cedric Tillman's a good player, but he's not great or anything like that. And you're going to be relying on David Njoku. So O-line and receiving, just two needs that they really needed to fix this year, but they really didn't do much besides getting some depth guys in the offseason. So, it's a lot of needs. And then I kind of agree with you. Defensively, another pass rusher. And depending on what you get from Emerson, maybe another corner, maybe another safety, but we'll have to kind of keep an eye on that one. But I like their linebacking core. That's solid. So
it's strong.
Yeah, if you can build off of one thing, maybe build around this linebacking core because there's some legit talent here. But yeah, they offensive line, receivers, another edge, another corner. I don't know. And by the way, quarterback too. So
the biggest one of them all. We were trying to not talk about till the end.
Yep. Okay. Predictions.
Now, okay. To help, I have football schedules. They have every single at or away, correct? Whether you're home or away. Now, it doesn't have the dates, of course, because that comes out here in a week. But we can predict each game. I know it kind of helps to know when in the season, but I think this will be plenty fine. You cool with this, Metro? We go one by one, and I'll count on my hands. We could have a record at the end.
Yes, let's see.
Let's do it. Let's start with the Baltimore Ravens. We are on the road. Can they win this one?
No. They've been competitive with them in the past, but no, not happening.
No, that is going to be a no. Next, we have at Chicago Bears.
I think this depends on when. If this is early in the season while the Bears are figuring things out, I think they have a chance. If this is later in the season when the Bears hypothetically have figured it out, I don't think they stand a chance. I'm going to lean towards no.
I'm there as well, so we have 2 losses. And then we have at the Cincinnati Bengals on the road.
Man, okay. If Burrow's injured, then yes. If Burrow's there, the one weakness to the Bengals is their defense, and the weakness for the Browns is their offense. So they really can't take advantage of the weaknesses of the Bengals. No. And Myles Garrett could give some issues to Joe Burrow like he's done in the past, and I think they could slow him down. I mean, they play him twice, so I'll say no for now, but I think I'll say yes for the next one.
Sounds good. So on the road, we're going to go L, but when we come back, we'll probably go yes. Ravens at home, I still don't think they win this. What do you think?
Again, competitive game, but I think the Ravens are just way more talented, so no.
Yeah, and if there are any Browns fans out there, like, what? We would win that. Like, all right, guys.
Listen, hey, be realistic with your team, Doc. Shador's a good quarterback. We'll see if he even plays this year.
Ravens are damn good, man. They're like, yeah, there's levels to this. There's levels to this stuff.
Yes.
Okay, Cincy, this is for the Baltimore. Cincy at home, we're going to give the Browns this, correct?
Yeah, I think, look, man, Cincinnati, they're just so top-heavy. And they've made some nice moves. I think they'll be better than what they were last year, but I could see a world where the Browns find a way to win one of those games. So I'll have them split against Cincinnati. So that's one win so far.
We got one, baby. 1-4 is the record heading into week 6. And here we go. Next we have the Pittsburgh Steelers at home.
Man, who's quarterback?
Who's quarterback?
Are we going to say Rodgers is the quarterback?
Yeah, we're going to say Rodgers is the quarterback. It's just
okay.
It's going to happen.
I will, similar to Cincinnati, I'll have them split here. So
cool.
We can
we'll just go
skip
boom, boom.
forward. Yeah, boom, boom. 1 loss, 1 win. So we're now up to 2 wins now.
Cool. Next we have Buffalo at home. No. I don't know about Buffalo.
Nope. Not happening.
Okay, we're at 2.
If the Bills show up and have any sense of urgency, like 1%, they're going to win that game.
Couldn't have said it better. 2-6 on the season. Next, we have the Miami Dolphins at home.
Ooh.
Interesting. Very different teams.
Very different. If Tua's healthy.
If it's September, when is this? This is kind of back to your conversation.
That's the other thing,
Tua cooks in September, but not
is it a
later.
home game in Cleveland?
It's in Cleveland, man.
Man. All right, I'm going to give it to Cleveland. Cause
I think so, too.
I could see Miami struggling against the secondary and struggling against Myles Garrett. And they have a good defensive line, so the Miami Dolphins defensive line will put some problems on whoever plays quarterback. But, I mean, especially if Jalen Ramsey's out the door, you're going to be relying heavily on that offense for Miami. So, and it's at home. If it's a later in the season game, it'll be colder. And obviously, we all know Miami sucks in the cold. But, of course, we don't know the exact timing of it. We'll make an assumption that it's going to be a little chilly. So, we'll give it to the Browns here. That's what, 3 wins now?
Yeah, 3-6 and a smooth 45 degrees against the Miami Dolphins. Next, we have the Green Bay Packers at home as well. Cold, sleet, or snow. I don't see them beating Green Bay. What do you think?
I think it'll be a surprisingly close game, but I'm going to go with the Packers to pull it out.
Okay, very nice. We have 3-7. Next, the Minnesota Vikings. Very interesting. This is also at home. JJ a little bit rattled, gets his helmet bashed in by Myles Garrett. Maybe he's having a rough day mentally. Do we want to give the Cleveland Browns this win against the Minnesota Vikings, or is it no cigar?
I think it depends, kind of similar to Chicago. Is this early in the year while JJ's figuring things out, or is this later in the year where JJ has figured things out? I'm going to lean on no, because I just believe in this Vikings roster a little too much. But I think, again, similar to what I've been saying, I think it'll be a close game, and depending on what JJ looks like. But I just think there's too much talent on Minnesota. Like, they would just kind of overwhelm them at some point.
Yeah, I'm going to go the same way you are. I think the roster's just too damn good. So we're going to go 3-8 on the season. This is starting to slip away fast. Yep. Next, we got about 6-7 games left. The Tennessee Titans at home. This one would be...
I'll give it to him. I
think so, too.
I mean, Cam Ward's a star, but I think it might take him a couple months to really get it down. And the roster outside of Cam Ward and that Titans team, I don't know if it's better than Cleveland, so I'll give this one to Cleveland. Yeah, I feel good about that one.
Totally agree. We were at 4-8, pretty much 1-2. Next, we have the San Francisco 49ers at home. The Niners are interesting, man, because they are getting older. They're losing pieces, but they have Brock Purdy, which always really helps. But we haven't seen Brock without all his pieces for a full season. Yeah, he's got Ricky. Yeah, he's got Ayuk. Actually, I will say Ricky and Brock Purdy really started to click last year. Yeah, Ricky was going crazy then last season. So where do you lean here? I think I know my answer, but I wanted to kind of mix it up.
I lean San Francisco, but it just depends on the health of San Francisco. They were banged up big time last year, so I'll lean San Francisco, but I could see Cleveland maybe pulling off the upset.
Couldn't have said it better. I still think I'm going to go with San Fran here. So we're going to chalk up a loss. Next we have at Detroit Lions. Sorry, guys. Ain't no way in hell. Detroit's going to pull this one out.
Yeah, they might 50-piece you guys.
No Ben Johnson, still 50-piece. That's what we're talking about.
Yep.
So We are at 4-10 on the season. Next, we have at Las Vegas Raiders. Interesting. This is a team, though, we did our power rankings. I was a little bit higher on just because I thought they were going to hand it off to Genty a million times and rely on that. What are your thoughts here, Metro? I'm going to let you call this one.
Yeah, I'm also pretty high on the Raiders. Geno Smith, Pete Carroll back in that system. Man, Genty's just going to cook. My thing is, though, I do think the Browns have a recipe to be pretty good against the run this year with Graham, with Garrett, with Malik Collins, with the front seven they have. But then there's that extra element of Geno Smith. And unlike last year where you didn't know what you were getting from the quarterback, I know what I'm getting from Geno. And even though I think the defense for the Raiders will cause some issues for the Raiders, I think in general, unless Shador is just really cooking or whoever's quarterback, could be Dylan Gabriel, I'm going to give this one to the Raiders as well.
Okay, sounds good. We are at 11. We are 4-11. Next, we have at New England Patriots.
Man.
This is a rough schedule.
Yeah, this is
the NFC North and tangling up with the AFC East, I believe. This one's pretty tough. I'm going to go New England here personally. I think Vrabel's a man and is also a great coach, an absolute man, period.
Yeah, I'm also going to go New England. I made a New England Patriots video like 2 days ago, and man, these people are high on this team, man. Like, I've seen people say they're making the playoffs this year. I'm like, whoa, hold your horses, but I can kind of see why. It's a good team with a lot of talent, but they're more talented. I think they're also just as well coached. And just Drake May, he's a baller. So I'll give this one to New England as well.
Sounds good. We were at 4-12. So we're talking top 3 pick right now. If you rip off a 5th win, now you bounce into the top 10. At the New York Jets, the tank off for a top 3 pick for, I'm looking at his face, Cade Klubnik for Norris Sellers. Who do you think wins this, Metro?
Man, these teams kind of similar in some ways, like in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. I think the Jets have a better team. I like their offensive line a lot more. Man, who are you leaning towards? I think I'm leaning Cleveland, but I don't know. Justin Fields is so inconsistent at times.
Would Cleveland get mad at us for squandering their top 3 pick?
They'll either be happy or really mad. So I think I lean. Man, I can go either way. It's a coin toss for me. I guess I'll lean New York. I think I'll go New York.
I think I'll lean New York too, just because I like. I don't know. I really like Cleveland's coach too, man. This is tough. This is really tough.
There's more talent on New York.
There is,
but they also have issues of limited weapons. We don't know what the quarterback looks like. Good offensive line, and defensively there's some pieces there, although there's a lot of change now. And Aaron Glenn in his first year. This one might be a case where you look at when is this game. If this is early in the year while the Jets are figuring things out, the Browns could win it. If this is later in the year when the Jets are, maybe a little bit better, this could be a Jets win. So I'm going to give it to the Jets, but if it's the Browns, sure, no problem.
I'm going to do the same. So right now, our range of wins, if we do a floor and a ceiling, I ended with, just so y'all know, 4-13, 4 wins and 13 losses. Their floor, Metro, we're looking at I don't think they lose or win more than 4. Sorry, how to say this correctly. They're not going to have less than 4 wins, in my eyes. The team's just got, not crazy talent, but just enough to not be like a 2-15 team. That just seems like this team's more talented than that. But the ceiling, I think you're looking at, you steal it from the Vikings, you steal it from the Jets, you steal it from Cincinnati. Actually, we gave them one because they had a game on the road and a game at home when Joe Burrow was kind of limping. I think your ceiling's about 7 wins, so about 4-7. Do you think something different, Metro, or you think about the same?
Yeah, I'm going to be a little bit more optimistic just because I want to keep my range a little wider.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, the quarterback play is abysmal this year, which is likely. It could definitely happen. So I'll go worst case scenario 3 wins. Best case scenario 9 wins.
Ooh,
just based
what's
simply
the 9
off
scenario?
Let me pull up their schedule real quickly.
Who's at quarterback?
Well, my assumption is that Shador takes over or Dylan Gabriel and just really starts to ball. So my path to 9 would be splitting every single game in the North. So beating Pittsburgh, beating the Ravens once, beating the Bengals, which they could do.
Yep.
So that's 3. And then I need you to upset one of either Buffalo, Chicago, or Detroit, one of those 3. So that's a 4th one right there.
Okay.
Maybe a win over Miami, a win over San Francisco, a win over Tennessee, a win over New England, and a win over the Jets. That would get us to 9. So they would have to they'd have to get a little lucky, but they would have a shot, I think, at 9. I don't see them going to 10 because, man, it's a tough schedule, and I'm not going to predict them to upset the Packers or upset or, sweep the Ravens, Bengals, or Steelers because those are good teams. Now, granted, they could get that 10th win by sweeping the Steelers, depending on quarterback play, but
They could.
I'm going to say 3 to 9 wins. That's my projection for them.
Sounds good. 3 to 9 for Metro, and then 4 to 7 for me. Metro, this has been our review completely. Is there anything else you want to talk about for this team? Maybe when do you think this team will turn the corner? Is it next year? Is it 2026, 2027? Is it on a different is it with a different front office? What do you think?
No, I think you keep the same front office. I think sometimes we are too quick to pull the trigger on these guys.
Good point.
And I think it's also the same with coaching because I just like the coach here, and I think he's been dealt some bad quarterbacks, so it's tough to really throw him out in the fire. So I think you give it one more year. I don't think they're going to turn the corner this year. It's just not a good enough roster. And then quarterback play is just still a massive question mark. So I think the corner gets turned next year when you know who your future quarterback is, whether it is Shador or Dillon or one of the quarterbacks in 2026. There'll also be more transparency on what this offensive line looks like. Can you get some more receivers? So right now, this is sort of a bridge year where you're just trying to figure out who is a part of this franchise in the future. And then as you go into next year, there will be a lot more clarity on quarterback, receivers, O-line, a lot of pieces defensively. So they will not turn the corner this year. I don't think they're going to be particularly good this year. They'll be one of the worst teams in the NFL, in fact, but that's fine. That's
okay.
What we should want them to be because they should want to get a top 10 pick and get a lot of good players. And to be honest with you, this is just maybe a hot take. I don't think they are ready for a quarterback even as soon as 2026. So if they were to spend 2 first-round picks on 2 very talented players next year and then went all in for Arch in 2027, shoot, I'm totally down for that. So they will turn the corner as a franchise of retooling and rebuilding this team next year, but it won't be this year.
Couldn't have said it better, man. The window, if you do it right, is 27 for a QB. If you want to roll, because jobs, just how it goes in the NFL, you're probably going to be 26.
Yeah. Yeah, and if they can't get the thing rolling next year, then you're probably looking at some new front office members, a new GM, a new coach. Again, I think they should give them this year and then see what they can put together next year. But, yeah, you can't blame the coach for this roster. It's just not good enough.
You can't. Absolutely can't. And when you look at it, dude, imagine if the owner sat down to this with his own team, which I know they do, but, realistically did this with their own team, and they're like, wow, this roster has got a ways to go. Maybe I shouldn't be so harsh this year. So, like you said, Metro, they need to keep GMs and front offices as long as they possibly can. I think people get cut too much, kind of what you mentioned. You got to at least see it truly develop before you just cut it way too short. Yeah,
I think give them time. Browns fans, don't be too mad at the 4 to 7 wins or the 3 to 9. Just chill out. Look, your team's not very good. It's just the truth. I'm sure Browns fans will agree with that. And the good news for you guys is that I think the team realizes it, and I'm just hopeful that they can start to put together good draft classes. And even though we didn't love this year's draft class, we like the names, we don't love the positions, they will hopefully be good players for you guys, and you can start to build towards the future. So is this a good offseason for the Browns? No, we don't think so, but it's a step in the right direction at least. So
couldn't have said it better, buddy. You ready to get out of here?
Yep. That's how
guys,
I'm out of here.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please drop a like. It helps out a bunch, and especially the algorithm. Thank you very much. We're doing previews for pretty much majority of the teams in the NFL. If you want some more previews just like this, go subscribe down below. And we're doing plenty of more videos about the NFL. We'll be with you all summer long. every Monday and every Thursday throughout the summer. When it's bored and there's no sports on, you can come to us and listen to our content. We're here to talk with you. Drop comments below. You have any hey, I think Myles Garrett's going to be number 1 in the league next year. He'll be Defensive Player of the Year. Anything you agree or disagree with us, drop it in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate you more than you know. Have the best day. Love y'all. Metro, say goodbye to the people.
Thank you guys for watching, and peace.